What if you could really unlock a deeper understanding of women's role in society? I mean, it's complex, often contradictory, right? Drawing on ancient wisdom, but also facing modern challenges, and even seeing how art gives a voice.
That's a great starting point
Yeah.
because it is complex.
Okay, so let's unpack this. For this deep dive, we're looking at a really powerful book, She Is, by Ryan Baidya. And it features these incredibly compelling artworks by Pranab Phauzdar.
Hmm.
It's not just a book. It feels more like an exploration, into the inherent sacredness and strength of women, but then immediately juxtaposed with the struggles, historical and ongoing, that they face worldwide.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, this whole deep dive offers, I think, a really profound journey into understanding what that concept truly represents.
Right.
So our mission today, essentially, is to pull out the most important nuggets, the key insights from this material. We want to give you, the listener, a kind of multifaceted view of womanhood, one that connects the historical sweep with the deeply personal, the revered, with the sometimes very raw realities.
Okay, so where does the book start? It kicks off with this foundational idea that right from the beginning, like the dawn of human civilization, women have been revered, seen as a source of enlightenment, a hope for the future.
Absolutely.
Think about it, the mother is often our first teacher, right? A patient guide, emotionally mature, kind of nurturing society towards learning and understanding.
And it's fascinating how various sacred writings echo this exact idea. They equate women's power with something like a picturesque vision of a beautiful dawn.
A beautiful dawn, okay.
Yeah, just like dawn brings light, purity, clarity.
Hmm.
A woman, particularly as a mother, is seen as illuminating life. The book explains it nicely, this idea of a mother in every woman, revealed through care, tenderness, patience, selflessness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why historically so many societies regarded every woman as a mother figure, regardless of her age or biological relation.
And the source makes a really strong claim here. It says a society that genuinely respects women. It's bound for prosperity, high spirits, but conversely,
Yeah, the flip side.
one that humiliates or mistreats women is bound to face miseries, grief, failures. It presents it almost like a law of nature.
That's such a crucial point. And it ties right into this idea of women as the very foundation of society.
Right.
They're depicted as full of brilliance, lighting the way away from ignorance, destroying that darkness of indulgence and pessimism. The book talks about this societal promise.
A promise.
Yeah, a promise to provide women with a strong foundation themselves so they can nurture their capabilities. And then, in turn, they become a firm foundation for the society, like a solid rock.
So it's reciprocal.
Exactly. It's not just poetry. It implies this symbiotic relationship. When societies empower women, it's not just charity. It's like a strategic investment. It pays off in stability, education, even resolving conflict. It makes the whole society more resilient. That's the real nugget, I think, the systemic impact.
Definitely. The text reinforces this view of women as a source of happiness, firmness, stability, valor, possessing willpower, bravery, knowledge. And it makes this powerful call to action, saying that all of society, Congress, Senate, Parliament, the judiciary, we the people, all of us should vow to protect women so they can, in turn, support and uplift everyone.
A collective responsibility.
Exactly. Now, from that big sort of sacred overview, the book zooms in. It looks at specific roles, starting with the daughter. And this is where it gets really interesting, culturally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Daughters are highlighted as special, a celebration, a gift. Like in Indian culture, they're often called Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, welcomed with great joy.
You see that reflected in ancient scriptures, too, like some Vedic texts. They describe the glorious woman as a daughter of brilliance, a synonym of mental faculties, someone who follows truth and virtue.
Wow.
There's one quote that's particularly striking. A society that respects women is heaven, and where women are denigrated, even the noble actions go waste.
It makes the stakes incredibly clear, doesn't it? It really does. Heaven or,
Yeah.
well, the opposite. And it's fascinating how different cultures celebrate a daughter entering womanhood.
Yeah, the rites of passage.
Right. The Ticuna tribe in Brazil, they have this ceremony after the first period. In India, there's Ritusuri, that coming-of-age celebration, often with the traditional half sari.
Langavodi.
Langavoni, right. Then Japan, they have the sekihan dish, that symbolic red rice. North America's Apache have the sunrise ceremony. The book even mentions some unique customs, like in parts of the Middle East, a light slap on the cheek, meant to remind them of new responsibilities.
But then, right after showcasing these celebrations,
Yeah.
the source pivots sharply to a really dark side of entering womanhood. We get these stark facts from the World Health Organization from 2013-2016.
Okay, what are they?
Over 200 million girls and women alive today have experienced female genital mutilation, FGM, in over 30 countries, Africa, the Middle East, Asia.
Few hundred
Yeah,
million. That's staggering.
It is. And the source is clear. Absolutely no health benefits, only severe long-term problems. It also points out that even though it's banned in Europe, illegal FGM operations are reportedly still happening, carried out by immigrants and refugees.
Hidden reality. Okay, shifting gears slightly, the book looks at the role of a sister. And it makes this interesting point that many professions, teachers, nurses, social workers, they naturally embody sisterly qualities. You know, caring, nurturing, patient, dedicated, empathetic.
That makes sense. It's a caregiving archetype in a way.
Right. And beyond just family, it talks about professional sisterhood. Working women, supporting each other, mentoring, creating these networks of solidarity.
And that bond is really deeply rooted in some cultures. Like in India and Nepal, you have Raksha Bandhan.
Oh, yeah, the festival.
Exactly. Sisters tie threads on brothers' wrist for protection. But historically, it was broader, protecting whole towns before battles. And the terms Bhai and Bihan, brother and sister, they're used affectionately in both African American and Indian cultures. It shows this kind of embedded societal respect, even if, well, practice doesn't always match.
And that leads to this really poignant question the source asks. It forces you to stop and think. And then why do some stray away from this beautiful, harmonic, mutually honoring and respectful relationship? Why does one go to become a savage who throws away his conscience and drowns in the lust of animals? She asks.
Oh, that's quite a question.
It is. And it leads us directly into the next section on the wife.
Right. And this is where the book brings in these incredibly raw personal testimonies. They're anonymous voices reflecting betrayal, lasting impact, just profound pain. We should probably share a few.
Okay.
Voice 24 says, I told him no, but he asked me to cuddle and kiss. I didn't want to ruin my career, so I did.
Oh.
Voice 25. I don't know how different I would be today. Less hardened, less jaded, more trusting. All those things if it never happened.
The lasting impact.
Exactly. Voice 27. I was disgusted and horrified. Voice 28. It's definitely turned my life upside down. And voice 29 simply says, it made me feel worthless.
Hearing those, it's just devastating. It moves beyond statistics into real lived trauma. And the book does something interesting here, right? It connects these voices to the art.
Yes, exactly. It explains that these raw, personal voices get a visual dimension through the artworks of Mr. Pranab Phauzdar. He uses this innovative cellulose matrix technique.
Cellulose matrix.
Yeah, and his works are described as glass-shatteringly loud and heart-penetratingly sharp. They're meant to silently raise a voice for the voiceless. It adds this whole other layer of impact, seeing the art alongside the words.
Powerful stuff. Okay, moving into the workplace now. The book focuses on the colleague role, and it highlights how women are often seen as, well, less than.
The inequalities.
Yeah, facing the glass ceiling, being scrutinized for looks, education, judged more strictly in performance reviews than men often are. The book really pushes for equality here, making it clear it's a goal we should all be working towards.
And to give that more context, the other voices related to workplace issues really show how systemic this can be. It's about power dynamics, abuse,
Right.
not just isolated incidents.
Right, the patterns.
Listen to these. Voice 26. He was a good mentor until he was the worst, probably most nightmarish mentor you could have.
That's chilling.
Voice 31 asks, how many stories of assault and harassment have never been told because of political connections? Voice 32. As women, we get harassed everywhere and we don't feel compelled to report it because it's not considered a reportable offense.
That normalization is terrible.
Voice 33. When I started volunteering, I was told he'd like to test the new meat. And voice 36. I was propositioned to have a sexual relationship with my boss that I did not want. I was retaliated against, I was wrongfully terminated, and I was blackballed.
Just awful. But then, amidst that darkness, there are also these voices of incredible strength and resilience in the book, right? Women pushing back.
Absolutely. There's real defiance.
Like voice 41. I didn't comply or agree on being sexually harassed. That was then portrayed as me being difficult. If being difficult is standing up to being treated like that, I'll own it.
Good for her, taking ownership.
And voice 42 cuts right to it. It's a story about power and abuse of power.
And the book confirms what research consistently shows. Sexual harassment of all kinds has really profound long-term psychological consequences. PTSD is mentioned specifically. The impact runs deep.
Definitely. So, okay, let's shift focus again, this time to the mother. The book defines motherhood really broadly, right? Not just biology.
Exactly. It's described as this extensive set of physical, psychological, and intellectual activities, starting from birth, going right through adulthood. It demands immense devotion, selflessness.
And the sacred texts you mentioned earlier, they have more to say about mothers. Oh, absolutely. There's this powerful plea. Purify us with your kindness, thoughtfulness, and enlightenment. The women cleanse us all from all our wrongdoings, corruption, and shortcomings.
Wow, cleanse us all.
Yeah. Mothers are also seen as having the potential to destroy iniquity, possessing a moral fiber as pure as gold. And, scientifically, there's that fact about mitochondrial DNA.
Oh, right, that's passed down from the mother.
Almost exclusively, yeah. It's this tangible biological link across generations responsible for energy in our cells, a direct maternal line.
The book really emphasizes the mother as the first teacher, parent, guide, lifelong friend, highlighting that unconditional love, that almost supernatural intuition mothers seem to have.
That gut feeling.
Exactly. Knowing their child isn't okay no matter the age, even if nothing's been said. It also points out that special mother-daughter bond and how we even refer to countries as she as a sign of honor, like the idea of a divine mother. And that reverence for the feminine, it spans so many ancient cultures. Think mother goddesses Adiparashakti or Prakriti in Indian traditions, representing that primal cosmic energy. Or in Chinese philosophy, you have yin, the feminine principle of receptivity, intuition. These traditions really connect to this idea that each of us is in part a representation of the sacred feminine.
But even with all this deep, sacred reverence for the mother, the book still includes voices that show pain, betrayal, even within contexts that should be nurturing.
Yeah, the ideal is shattered by some experiences.
Like Voice 43, I respect Israel immensely. He has fallen like Icarus from his pedestal. That implies a huge betrayal of trust.
It does, in Voice 44. People lie and they tell stories. It's ridiculous. Just frustration and disbelief.
And Voice 45, I was so humiliated. I didn't have a name for it at the time, but I did fall into a depression. I can see that now. The long-term emotional toll.
Yet despite these painful accounts, the sacred text keeps returning to the ideal, stating that the most beautiful way to respect a woman is as a mother, a representation of pure affection, knowledge, leadership, guidance, and brilliance. It serves as this powerful counterpoint.
Right. Okay, now let's turn to women as fighters and warriors. Where does the book take us here? What does this all mean?
Well, it introduces another sacred text quote, one that's really empowering. "O woman, you possess tremendous power. You are the mother of noble people. You are full of bravery."
So acknowledging inherent strength.
Exactly. And historically, women have been warriors. The source gives some great examples. Artemisia of Kanoria, commanding ships for Persia. Cleopatra V, taking her army as her dowry after a divorce.
Taking her army as dowry, that's incredible.
Isn't it? And Zenobia, leading her own army against the Roman Emperor Aurelian. Ancient Indian women, too, known for valor and practices like johar, mass self-immolation to protect honor rather than face capture.
That historical bravery, how does it connect to today?
The book links it directly to contemporary struggles, particularly where female voices are often muted, like in legal battles over bodily autonomy, especially the deeply controversial issue of abortion.
Right, a major battleground.
And the source digs into the history here, citing texts from the 15th, 16th centuries that explicitly tried to stop some wicked whore from getting info on contraception.
Oh.
It recounts horrifying practices, drinking dangerous potions, using coat hangers, desperate measures, and the total lack of control for enslaved women in the U.S. over consent or pregnancy.
Such a long history of fighting for control.
Absolutely. And the fight continues. The source mentions a 2019 Pew survey showing 61% of U.S. adults think abortion should be legal. It notes legal shifts, like the Supreme Court striking down a restrictive Louisiana law, and Ireland changing its laws after a woman's tragic death, really highlighted the issue.
And this fight manifests in collective actions too, doesn't it?
Yes, the book points to modern movements, like the Women in White in Belarus.
So tell me about that.
Women protesting patriarchy, inequity, the lack of female voice in politics. It started in Belarus, but has spread internationally, even though participants reportedly faced detention and jail time.
So real courage there.
Definitely. And then, of course, the Me Too movement. It actually emerged back in 2006, but exploded globally later.
Right, sparked by Hollywood initially.
Exactly, against sexual harassment and abuse by powerful men. It truly inspired women everywhere to speak out, name names, start healing, using social media as this massive tool for mobilization and shifting shame.
And the book includes more voices reflecting that resistance, that demand for accountability.
Oh, yes. Very powerful ones. Voice 47. I want to make sure this never happens again. Ever.
A determination for change.
And Voice 48. I want the shame to not be my own anymore. I want the shame to fall on him. Reclaiming power.
But the backdrop to all this fighting is, well, pretty grim, statistically speaking.
It is. The book cites the World Health Organization again. 1 in 3, that's 35%, of women worldwide have experienced either physical and/or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime.
1 in 3, globally.
And 38% of murders of women are committed by a male intimate partner. The book discusses risk factors for both perpetrators and victims, and it grimly notes that U.S. data from 1993 to 2012 showed almost no improvement in women's safety. The source calls that a failure, negligence, and ineptitude of the world.
Failure, negligence, ineptitude. Strong words. So, given all that, what does the book propose? Global actions.
Yes, it strongly emphasizes global collective actions. It really highlights the responsibility of governments to protect citizens from internal threats, like violence against women, contrasting it sharply with the vast sums spent on external threats.
Makes sense. So what kind of actions?
Well, it gets quite specific, proposing a detailed policy prescription for deterrence and justice, particularly for countries like India.
Okay, like what?
Things like classifying rape as a capital crime, defining juveniles as under 12, not 18 for such crimes, proposing trial courts start within 7 days, located within 25 kilometers of the victim's home, no bail for perpetrators, allocating wartime funds to combat this.
Wartime funds?
Yeah, framing it as an urgent crisis, and even establishing a dedicated Rape Prevention and Mitigation Army, the RPMA.
An army? Who would be in it?
Professional judges, carefully vetted civilians from different states, all with protection guaranteed. It's a radical proposal. The book also calls for UN member states to actually implement the resolutions they've already passed to end violence against women.
So, a very forceful call for systemic change and enforcement. And this whole intense section on fighting back, it ends with another reference to sacred texts.
It does, calling for women to be lionesses who destroy the foes of ignorance, irresponsibility, negativity, and savagery, all for the ultimate welfare and happiness of everyone.
Bringing it back to that protective, powerful role. And the artist, Pranab Phauzdar, his name means fighter.
Isn't that fitting? Yes, his name literally means fighter. And he silently raises his voice through his art. The book shares this incredible story. When he was just 14, one of his paintings inspired freedom fighters in the Bangladesh Liberation War.
Wow, at 14.
Yeah. Tragically, his village was burned down, the painting destroyed, but its message fighting atrocity, brutality spread anyway. Even his unique art technique, that one-of-a-kind cellulose matrix.
Yeah.
It apparently arose from necessity, from the materials he had available after being displaced. It speaks volumes about resilience, ingenuity in the face of hardship.
What an incredible journey we've been on exploring from ancient reverence, women as sacred sources of enlightenment.
And the dawn.
Right, the dawn, to the really harsh realities violence, discrimination faces, daughters, sisters, wives, colleagues, and then seeing that unwavering strength as mothers, as fighters, agents of justice.
It's a huge spectrum.
It really is. And the messages, both in the text and through Pranab Phawzdar's really haunting art, they stick with you. It paints such a comprehensive, if sometimes difficult, picture of womanhood.
And this deep dive keeps bringing us back, doesn't it, to that core idea of women as peacemakers, the ones who stabilize the world and ensure that there's never any violence.
Yeah.
The book closes with this powerful image, the Statue of Dignity from the Lakota and Dakota Native American people. It symbolizes the courage, strength, determination, survival of all women standing firm against the injustice of the world, which I think raises a really important question for you, the listener.
Okay, leave us with that thought.
How is that timeless dignity, that inherent power of she, both celebrated and, well, challenged in your own society right now?
And building on that, what role can you play? How can you help transform these calls for justice, for respect, into real, tangible action, into widespread realization for all women? Something to think about.